Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly live question and answer, where we sit down with an integrative physician and we look for your questions. We answer them live here on YouTube. You'll see over on the side of your screen here, perhaps, the chat section. You need to be logged into YouTube for that, but you can go ahead and post your questions there. I'll be monitoring that, and ask us anything and everything health related. We're happy to field your answers. Also, if you can't log into YouTube, or you're in between the week, because we meet here every Wednesday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific, you can email your questions into us at office@tlcdoctors.com. And actually I have a couple questions right here that I'm going to get to in just one second. Just one quick disclaimer: the questions and the answers that we provide here, the information that we provide, is for general health and knowledge. This is not meant to take the place of your specific medical advice and your relationship with your physician. We encourage you, for complex questions, for complex issues, to seek guidance from a physician, hopefully a great integrative physician like we have here at Tustin Longevity Center.
Thank you.
Dr. Elter, thanks for joining us again today.
Thank you.
I am looking for questions, but how about we jump into a couple that came in during the week? I have a question here from Miss Debbie, who asks, she's saying that she's taking high-dose vitamin C powder daily, and she's also having high-dose vitamin C IVs. She was concerned about taking too much vitamin C, possibly causing oxalates, and she provided an article here from Healthline.
Oxalate crystals?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Well, essentially, Debbie, that is extremely rare. And that is a phenomena that is extracted out of manipulation of the statistics. It's extremely rare. We have, and I brought this up last week, where is it? We have a article that is a retrospective meta-analysis.
It's really a compendium of lots and lots of research on high-dose vitamin C.
It's very thick. It's put out by PhD Rhonda Patrick and her team. So we're talking maybe, dozens of collaborators that have researched this. And the title of her article that you can find at foundmyfitness.com, it's entitled Vitamin C suggests an improvement to the this article. What's the title of it? Well, it's just her compendium on vitamin C, all things about vitamin C, high dose and intravenous. And in it, she has this concordia here, and this concordia will guide you to a specific area. You don't have to read the whole thing, so it's like a little mini book.
You can take a look at vitamin C and how it helps with pneumonia, how it helps with brain function, how it helps boost your immune system.
With cancer, yeah.
With cancer, right.
So if you look through this and you go to the safety, vitamin C safety, oral vitamin C, in the page, vitamin C intake and kidney stone risk, okay? On this, it says, some studies have suggested that vitamin C intake is a risk for kidney stones due to the formation of oxalate, an end product of vitamin C metabolism. And she goes on to say, a small number of case reports indicate that oxalate nephropathy, a condition in which oxalate calcium crystals form in the kidney, has been observed in patients with kidney impairment who have been administered high-dose vitamin C. Now, then she goes on to say there were 2 large prospective cohort studies involving tens of thousands of people. Tens of thousands of people found that vitamin C intake increases the relative risk of kidney stones. However, the findings from these studies are slightly misleading due to the fact that they did not report the actual incidence rate of kidney stones. They didn't report the actual incidence of rate of kidney stones. It is worth noting that this risk was only found after statistical manipulation of the data, and the patients with higher vitamin C actually did not have more kidney stones. So you see, there's agendas and there's biases in science, and integrity has to be in your doctor. She goes on to talk about another prospective cohort study, and more than 48,000 Swedish men found that men's risk of developing kidney stones was 0.16% per year among men who did not supplement, but the risk was 0.3% per year among those who did, a statistical difference with no clinical significance. Mm-hmm. So she goes on to say, and these are all referenced, I mean there's about 100 references back here.
Right.
So she concludes by saying, in addition, the actual incident rate was extremely low. In other words, those who supplement with vitamin C can expect a kidney stone every, say, 200 and 323 years, whereas those who do not supplement with vitamin C can expect a kidney stone every 613 years.
Okay.
I mean, she puts it in perspective, and she just says this is a non-issue over decades. Now, if you look at me nearing 40 years of clinical practice using this, I would say I just have never had a case. Mm-hmm. And I do countless number of vitamin
C. Hundreds a month.
Yes, yeah. Hundreds a month. So no, I don't think it's a concern.
But great question, and I also think that it goes to say the quality and the type of vitamin C perhaps matters as well too.
Yes.
We don't know what these supplements.
Right. Remember, China is the major source of the pharmaceuticals and vitamin C. Mm-hmm. Well, I've known that for decades, and I instructed and I pay more to get vitamin C from non-Chinese sources. Right. Because they use a genetic modified base for their source, and we use the beet for our source of vitamin C.
Okay.
So we're always amping up the quality. Every week I'm looking at research. I have a very interesting article to bring up as well later.
Okay.
Well, that answers that question.
Thanks for the question, Debbie.
But you can pick up this article. We should post this, Blake, on our blog on vitamin C so people can look this up, right. Okay?
And I did tag that in the last video, but I'll make a blog for it too.
All right.
So if you go back and watch last week's live Q&A, Dr. Elthorpe went into some extensive information specifically on vitamin C, intravenous vitamin C, and you can find that link there. And we will have a blog article on our website, tlcdoctors.com, coming up very soon, linking to just this compendium really of information on the many, many benefits of high-dose vitamin C. Okay. We got a question in here, it looks like on YouTube in the chat section. Has it been proven that the ketogenic diet cures cancer, or is it still being researched?
Well, I think you should ask, that's a good question. Mm-hmm. We know very much, we know a whole lot about mitochondrial, the cell battery of every cell. The mitochondria are the little energy producers inside of all your cells. Mm-hmm. And we know that cancer is dependent upon what is called a fermentative, kind of like how you ferment wine or beer, in a non-oxygen environment. So the more you clog up your capillary blood flow, your cardiovascular, with a high, sticky, gooey, fruit, sugar, juicy, soda pop rich, starchy carbohydrate diet, and clog it up, you're going to choke the teeniest little capillary reaching the cells. And those capillaries, I always like to say, if I plucked one of my hair out of my head, a capillary is about 1/100th of the diameter of a human hair.
That's how small.
That's how small the diameter is of your capillary when it finally is going past your cells. Mm-hmm. So we know if you clog it up and the poor cell is oxygen starved over and over and over and long enough, it's going to send a signal back to the nucleus where the DNA is at, saying something's wrong here, we want to survive, and there is it written in your DNA, your embryonic DNA message. So we all started as a cell,
right,
and then divided into 2 and 4 and 8 and 16 and 32 and so forth, and there were no capillaries in you when you were a glob of cells starting out. And so that is a very oxygen poor, stressful environment. And so the design of God was that the blastula would implant into the uterine lining, which was very bloody, rich in oxygen.
Right.
And that stimulated then the development of the umbilical cord into the uterine lining there, with signals also to stop it, because there is such a thing. It's extremely rare where a pregnancy doesn't stop that vascular growth and becomes a cancer as well. But it's interesting, day 56 of the gestation of a baby is when the pancreatic enzymes are started, and that is right at the umbilical cord where the pancreas is, and that's the signal to stop this invasion of the placental blood supply and just take on the blood from the mother into what is established in the cord. That's enough to grow the baby. Now I say all that to say a high carbohydrate diet, sugars and so forth, and fruit sugars, clog up the capillaries to tissues, whether it's the woman sleeping on her breast and squishing it 6-7 hours every night, a man sitting on his prostate at the desk all day, squishing his prostate, a person smoking and clogging up his lungs, and so forth. So when you stop the capillary exchange for delivering oxygen and removing waste, you create a low oxygen tension, and that can send signals of distress for the cell to think it's back in its primordial, fetal state.
And that's where mutations can potentially happen.
Yeah.
And we all have mutations going on in our body, and if our immune system is functioning properly, it's going to identify those cells and deal with them. And a ketogenic diet is the inverse of a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet. So it's a very low carbohydrate, low sugar diet. The idea being, we understand that cancer cells have 18 times the insulin, their receptors, as a healthy cell. They're hungry for simple energy, right?
Right. Sugar is easily metabolized. Fat is the difficult one to metabolize for a cancer cell. So we would say that it hasn't been proven. There is just a huge body of research about the damaging effects of carbohydrates making a hormone come out called insulin. And insulin is one of the #1 growth promoting hormones.
Yes.
Now, in a human, after they're an adult, that shows up as gaining weight and being fat.
Right.
But it can also show up as cancer. And isn't it incidental that you see more cancer in obese people?
Right.
That's clearly established. So we cannot say it cures it, but we can say indeed that it is something you must work on, and it should have been taught in medical school. In fact, in 1909, there is an article by Professor John Beard, and he came up with what is called the trophoblastic theory of cancer, trophoblastic, all right, trophoblastic theory of cancer. This is 1909. And he is the one who described this very process I just told you about, of the cell division and the implantation and the pancreas starting and the enzyme shutting. And there's a body of information about enzymes very helpful in inhibiting cancers. Why? Because if there's a little clog there, they just clean it up, systemic enzymes. That's why I take it all the time. So no, you cannot say that a ketogenic diet cures cancer, but you can very well stand on firm ground saying that is a clear-cut preventative for cancer, and it is a clear-cut answer for longevity, living a long time.
Absolutely.
Now, as you know, and the Bible teaches that you're not supposed to tell people when you fast, otherwise you'll lose the blessing. But I talk about it as a teaching for my patients. And every year I do a 5-day fast twice a year.
Right.
And did I fast for 5 days here, people? Not one bite of food. And did I come to work every day?
You did.
Did I do my workouts 3 times a week with my personal trainer? Yes, I did 5 days without a bite. And I do that twice a year. That's called a prolonged fast. There are intermittent fasts, which I do. I live this way. I never have breakfast. And now I'm on a different kind of a fast because I experiment on myself. And I'm on a doctor's nutrition bar fast. And I'm going to be only having a bar at 1 and a bar at 5 o'clock. And I'm going to see how long I can sustain on that for about a month. I'm going to do a doctor's nutrition bar because it's 15 grams of protein, 15 grams of fiber, and 4 net carbs that we have proven and researched and published on with human studies. So it's clinically based, and it is made up of the stuff that the cell repair is made of. So if I have clean capillaries, and if I think the last time you randomly pricked my finger for my blood sugar, it was 63 when we did it. So if my blood sugar is low and my capillaries are free, and ladies and gentlemen, this is one of your best, nutritions for longevity. Yeah. Then it'll be interesting to see if I can make it a month on this kind of a diet.
Wow. Good luck. I'm excited to hear how that turns out. Well, hope that helps answer your question. A lot of information there. We could talk and talk and talk about a ketogenic diet, which we absolutely promote here to our patients. What Dr. Althorpe mentioned, twice a year, a 5-day fast, that is spoken of very frequently in the functional integrated medicine world. There's Dom D'Agostino, who's a PhD who's done lots of research, and he prescribes that type of a fast twice a year to allow the body to deal with any potential growing cancer in the bodies. But it's really theoretical, but the concept makes absolute sense and agrees with what we know to be true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. He is a nephrologist in Toronto, kidney specialist in Toronto, Canada, and he has a whole series of YouTubes. If you type in Jason Fung, F-U-N-G, fasting, you'll see dozens, maybe even 100 videos on him, and I endorse his work.
Great. I'm going to hop back to another question that was emailed in last week from Ryan, and Ryan asked a lot of really great questions, and Ryan, I'll probably be reaching out to you via email directly to answer some of these, but one of Ryan's questions was about supplements. So he says there's often large price differences between different supplement manufacturers, even when both are GMP. What's the extra benefit for more expensive brands such as Orthomolecular in comparison to cheaper alternatives? So what would you have to say about the cost of getting something from like an Orthomolecular versus a Gero or a Vitamin Shop or something on Amazon?
OW, yeah.
Now,
I have to say, I'm clinically rich in first-hand knowledge that those over-the-counter prescriptive, non-prescription supplements don't have the impact that certain companies that we contract with, because they have quality assurance. You and I have flown out to Orthomolecular a couple of times. I was a chemistry major, biochemistry major, and I went and I understand about analytical assays, and I know that when you get a barrel of a nutrient, sometimes
you're talking about the raw ingredients.
The raw ingredients. Right. Sometimes the manufacturer will put his best stuff on the top of the barrel, and the bottom 2/3 will be more junk grade. Right. And so you have to have a depth of sampling. What you put the stuff in quarantine until it goes through a quality assurance assay, and you have to know the depth of sampling of these things. So we work with Orthomolecular because of their motto, their core
efficacy.
Their efficacy is of the highest moral standards. I've been there. I've seen their logs. I have my patients, and I see the difference. So they'll come into me, and most everyone now is taking something or several things. And then I'll do lab and micronutrient assays on them, and they're deficient.
Right.
Then we start using ours, and we correct these
Right.
over and over and over and over again. So it is, who is out there proving, where's the quality assay on these things? So you've heard about recalls of prescriptive drugs, right?
Right.
Because there's regular monitoring of the labeling of what's in it and its quality.
And it's not hard to get a GMP sticker on your supplements. That's just good manufacturing process.
That's all it says.
Almost anybody can achieve that.
It means a clean plant.
Right.
That's all it means.
But then there's further certifications like USP, NSF.
Yes.
And I think
Kosher,
of course, right. And we've just seen, as you mentioned in the beginning, just our clinical experience decade after decade, seeing patients come in with being on board with many supplements already, and then we put them on a supplement from orthomolecular or the like, and we see the improvements there. And we could go on and on. We've been out there. We've met we're speaking specifically of orthomolecular. We've met with the president, the executive team. They have a research division they're dedicated to the outcomes of their products.
and it's local control. What's happening now is big companies are starting to buy up vitamin labels.
Right.
Okay. So you might be buying something saying, I'm tired of the pharmaceuticals running everything. Well, they're running those vitamins that are sold at GNC. And, I don't trust the pharmaceuticals. They, in general, have no product liability, and they consider the cost of damaging patients and killing them as the cost of doing business. And these are paraphrases of quotes that I've heard of the presidents of, companies, So it's very unfortunate.
All right, just checking the time here. We've got some time left for some more questions. Here's another good one from Ryan. Is Juice Plus beneficial for those already on a healthy diet? Organic, low carb, low sugar, leafy greens, berries, local, etc.
I think everyone would say that, and I'm glad if you're doing those things, wonderful. But we have more research than any other nutraceutical on Juice Plus. There are about 42 peer-reviewed articles on it, including my research that I published in 2000 in the American Journal of Nutraceuticals spring issue of 2000. And I can tell you, we have taken athletes, we have taken SWAT teams,
smokers,
yes,
pregnant women.
We have taken all classes of society and those who really endeavor to eat well.
Yes.
And we find improvement in their immune system,
right.
Improvement in their endurance, improvement in their lack of having a need for a doctor or a seasonal cold or allergies and so forth. So the answer is yes, you do, because the environmental pollutions, the stress we have, the electromagnetic and so forth that is assailing us today is damaging. And so let's use and put our dollars where the most research is and where they're willing to put it as the claim can be said, I think, by the lawyers for the Juice Plus company. It is the most nutraceutically validated
it's the most researched nutraceutical
in the world. The
right.
most researched nutraceutical
right.
in the world, yeah.
Right. I also want to add to that, if I may, Juice Plus, you could not possibly get the variety of quality nutrients
exactly.
in your diet every single day.
Yeah.
Now it's just a lesser amount, it's a dehydrated amount, but there's so much good information from those almost 30 different fruits and vegetables that are that you're taking in every day.
Yeah, I don't eat 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries every single day of my life physically, but I do in Juice Plus. I get the micronutrient density in me.
Yep. Great question. Thank you for that, Ryan. A couple other questions that came in on YouTube. Doctor, what is your opinion on enemas, especially coffee enemas?
I have been around and in practice for nearly 40 years, and I would say I have not seen them give any value. Just that's the short and simple of it. It is a collagen. It stimulates bowel movements, okay? And in that, the claim is that it'll enhance bile secretion and detoxification. I tell you, I think people are looking for things like a pain pill. I think things like enemas in general are just superficial means and not showing any enduring efficacy.
And you've seen many, many decades of imaging from colposcopies and rectal imaging, and the idea, one of the ideas with enemas is it's going to clean that out.
Yeah.
And most people, if your body's doing what it's supposed to, you're drinking your water, you're eating healthy, your rectum should be pretty clean, your colon should be pretty clean as is.
Right. Now, on the converse of that, I've seen no harm. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
But I would save your money and your time, and I would put it into taking a walk.
Or a foot bath.
Or a foot bath?
I'm kidding.
Oh.
You know those foot baths?
Oh, yeah.
People soak their feet in.
Yes. Yeah, the iron foot baths.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that question, though. Okay, a little bit of time left here. I have a question from Mirror, it looks like. If a gallbladder has ascaris, does it need to be removed? And is a parasite cleanse necessary? If a gallbladder has ascaris, A-S-C-A-R-I-S.
That's a worm.
Okay.
Ascaris.
Does it need to be removed?
If a gallbladder?
Yes.
I have never in my 40 years heard of a worm in a gallbladder.
Okay.
That's in the gastrointestinal system. Yeah, you should get rid of it, but I don't know that you have to have a cholecystectomy. So this is probably a very precise, particular question.
Sure.
I don't know enough about what's going on with this question. Ascaris is the term in general for worms and a class of worms, and so ivermectin, you've heard about that in the thing for the COVID-19. That's a typical drug they use to get rid of that. Go to your doctor and just take the medicine to get rid of it, and that should clear it out, and your doctor will manage it.
I'm not sure if the second part of that question is just in general for everybody when they ask is a parasite cleanse necessary, but I see this come up in the preventative medicine realm where some doctors like everybody walking through the door to do some kind of a parasite cleanse or some kind of diets where you defecate out supposed parasites.
Yeah, there is a lot of error here. Underlings theory. I did a doctorate in integrative medicine in 1999 and 2000, and I was with the greats Klinger and O'Mara and so forth, and they do a lot of energy medicine by digital ring, testing this and energy according to Vol vibrational medicine and the body electric. These are books that I like the books, but there is a theory that there's a pleioformic, multi-dimensional capability of pathogens. They could be a virus, they can morph into a bacteria, they can morph into a fungus. That's called the underling theory, and I disagree with that totally. And that's where you get all this talk about parasites. Dark field microscopists will say, oh, I think you have, parasites, and someone will do a energy testing and say, oh, I think you have parasites. And so this is when alternative medicine has gone off their rocker, and they're too far out there, and they're giving a bad name to complementary medicine that needs to be seriously looked at. So that's the foolishness part of it. So
most patients walking through the door don't have a parasite that they need to clean out.
Right.
Okay. All right, I think we have time maybe for one more question here. It looks like Deborah asked, what is the impact of phospholipids in the doctor's nutrition bar on mental clarity and health?
Well, we are made of fat and protein. It's a double layer, okay? And these fatty acids hang down and stand up, and then you have these big protein receptors, and that's what docks with the cell membrane to make a message to go to the nucleus, okay? Sure. So it's a double layer. And that is 50% fat, and that is 50% protein. Now in your brain, it's 75% fat and 25% protein. So we have lived through almost 40 years of corrupt politics involved in medicine, and you can see it happening, I think, now, where they said saturated fat, butter and stuff is the cause of heart disease. Now that's been debunked.
Or low fat, no fat diets.
Yeah, low fat, no fat. For decades, I've been trying to get people to eat their fat.
Mm-hmm.
And when they started eating the right healthy fats, and that's a whole topic of itself, of which phospholipids are very important, okay? These things then help repair the membranes throughout your whole body. So if I'm on this diet of 2 bars a day, and that's all I eat, and I'm getting in, I don't know, 8-9 grams of phospholipids every day, I mean, I feel great anyway, you know, but I am going to have such focus, and through the repair of my aging body, it should be phenomenal. So,
and since the brain is disproportionately more dependent on healthy fats,
Right.
on lipids, it would reason that these phospholipids would absolutely benefit mental clarity, thinking.
Right.
And you've actually published for many, many years looking at phospholipids, cellular membrane health,
Yeah.
mitochondria.
Yes.
So you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you can go
That's
on
why
my
we
website.
developed this
Yeah.
bar in mind with phospholipids.
Yeah, go to tlcdoctors.com and go on research, and you'll see all these things where I'm making an 80-year-old man's membranes function efficiently like a 29-year-old man, because we're repairing them. Before we go, I have to bring up some news.
Okay. And just, we are a little over time.
The University of Pittsburgh scientists discovered antibody that neutralizes virus that causes COVID-19. Its component is 10 times smaller than a full-size antibody. Scientists at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine have isolated the smallest biological molecule that completely and specifically neutralizes SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. And it's been used to create they're making it as a drug now called A, capital A, B, lowercase, and the number 8, AB8.
Okay.
AB8. And so this is the pre-print. This isn't out in print yet. This is submitted for review. So this is what we call a journal pre-proofread. But the data is overwhelmingly positive. This is on animal studies. The mice all were able to resist the SARS. The hamsters were all able to. It's rather remarkable. And human cell membranes did not allow it to attach to it. So there would likely be no side effects. Now, they're suggesting that this could be a preventative. So before you think you have to take any vaccine, it looks like therapeutics, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, zinc, a low-carb diet, vitamin D.
Vitamin C.
Yeah, and vitamin C. All these things are showing up now, which they're not talking about. So I would look into this. Where is this is being done? This is Dr. Lee, Dr. Schaefer at the University of Pittsburgh, and it's going to be in the journal Cell, the journal CELL. And so if you want to do your own research like Ryan, I know you're studying a lot, the title of it is called High Potency of a Bivalent Human VH Domain in SARS-CoV-2 Animal Models. And it was astoundingly remarkable.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting.
Well, folks, we are actually over time today. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us, those of you that are watching live. We'll be back again next week at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. Have your questions ready. You can submit them during the week, so you don't have to wait. Or if you're unable to watch live and you watch later, send your questions to office@tlcdoctors.com, and we'll get those answered.
Talon,
Yes.
why did the pony stop singing lullabies?
Why did the pony stop singing lullabies?
Because he was a little horse.
Okay. Well, we'll leave you with a nice corny joke, folks. We'll look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. Thanks. Have a good week.